The weapon that supplanted it was conceived by another American inventor, Hiram Maxim. Maxim emigrated to London in 1881, where he had a flash of inspiration that resulted in a new era in rapid-fire history.
Hiram Maxim was an inventor, and he happened to find himself in Paris at a convention, and somebody told him, if you want to make a pile of money, invent something which will enable these Europeans to cut one another's throats with greater facility.
Hiram Maxim's machine gun was a technological breakthrough. It is almost unrelated to the hand-powered Gatling gun. The recoil of the Maxim gun ejected the spent cartridge and delivered a fresh round into the firing mechanism. It was the first truly automatic gun.
The reason it made an impact is that the weapon was no longer hand-cranked. Weapons like the Gardner, the Gatling had to be cranked round. They're not true machine guns. But Hiram Maxim's weapon used the energy of the bullet going one way to reload, plucking a bullet out of a belt and giving you a rate of fire of 500 to 600 bullets a minute.
One cock places the cartridge ready to be loaded into the barrel. The second one loads it, and by releasing the safety, now I'm going to fire the Maxim.
In the early 20th century, the market for Maxim's machine gun was huge. Political tensions between the major Western powers resulted in a large-scale military buildup. The Germans, French, Americans, and British all invested in Maxim's design.
And by 1900, most major powers had Maxim guns at the rate of about 2 per battalion. That's 2 machine guns per 1,000 soldiers. They were heavy, they were cumbersome, and nobody knew how to use them. But in a deep and significant way, they did chart the way ahead.
The new automatic killing machine altered battlefield tactics. For hundreds of years, armies had attacked in massed ranks, but the Maxim gun changed that.
These things traversed a good deal, and you could shoot 300, 400 rounds of ammo in one traverse. And if you're charged with a 300-man force of people, it wouldn't take you long to kill every one of them. Now, when both sides do the same thing, it makes your mass charges almost superfluous.
It was lethal, but the Maxim was too heavy to be very mobile. It needed a large tripod and a 2- to 4-man team to operate it. In 1914, that drawback was almost an advantage. The First World War might have been designed with Sir Hiram's monster in mind.
As trench warfare develops, they don't have to worry about the difficulties of carrying a big, heavy, often water-cooled machine gun. Because they're sitting still in trenches for so long, the Maxim gun comes into its own. You can sit there all day in your trench with your Maxim gun, shooting at whoever comes through no man's land towards you. As long as you keep cold water flowing around the barrel, you can keep killing.
Maxim guns caused damage on both sides of the lines, but it was the invention of a humble agricultural implement that made the machine gun the terror of the trenches. 2 generations earlier, on a farm in the American Midwest, Joseph Glidden invented barbed wire.
Barbed wire had started its life as being an innocent agricultural device invented in DeKalb, Illinois, not far from Chicago, designed to keep cattle in their fields. Its military application was very quickly picked up because this spiked fence would slow down military movement.
By itself, barbed wire is a nuisance. By itself, the machine gun is dangerous. The combination of slowing people down while they try to pick their way through wire, or cut their way through wire, or blow up the wire, and get killed by a machine gun while they're doing it, that is deadly.
Barbed wire had been christened Devil's Rope even before the Great War. When the war started, twisted rolls of wire were stretched from Switzerland to the North Sea, slowing down troops and creating killing zones for the new weapon of mass destruction. Barbed wire and the machine gun proved a marriage made in hell.
People would certainly try before a battle to send patrols out to cut wire, but you needed really to do it on a large scale. There was always the danger that the wire cutting would be selective. In other words, all you'd succeed in doing would be making gaps in the wire, and your attacking infantry would inevitably focus on the gaps, and that's where the defender would be able to concentrate his firepower to do real damage.
The 1st of July, 1916. Day one of the Battle of the Somme. More than 19,000 British troops lay dead on the battlefield. Most had been struck down by German Maxim fire. The plan had been to shred the barbed wire with 5 days of relentless artillery bombardment and knock out the German defenders. The reality was horribly different. The Germans were well dug in. The wire breached only in places. The result was the bloodiest day in British military history.
On its own, barbed wire won't stop an attacker. But cover that defense with machine guns, and you've got something that can funnel the attackers and give you time to slaughter them.
The nightmare of life in the trenches made military strategists determined to break the deadlock of trench warfare. Weapon designers set to work on a new family of light but devastating rapid firearms that would perform well at close range. The French were the first to try one out, the dangerously unreliable Chauchat.
During the First World War, there were basically two different types of weapons on the battlefield. One was the bolt-action single-shot rifle. The other weapon was the machine gun. Machine guns, however, were quite heavy. The French were the first to come up with a weapon that would fire automatically, but could be carried by one single soldier. It was light enough.
But the Chauchat was still too heavy, and the magazine caused jams.